It's time for the Jackie Jones Chrysler Dodge Champ Racing Show. Now, here's Georgia Hall of Fame announcer Charles Head.
Well, hi there and welcome. Glad to have you here. We're at Moogie's Mill Creek Gathering Place once again. And here's a programming note. We'll be back here again next week as well. So make sure to tune in to the Champ Racing Show next Thursday night, again at 7 p.m. I want to thank you for being here tonight. A couple of things we want to go over right quick before I introduce our co-host tonight. Of course, our sympathy goes out to the Scott Bloomquist family. We lost him just, I think it was last Friday morning, just after last week's show. And so we certainly want to extend our sympathies to that family. And also, Hot Rod Lamance had open heart surgery today. I got a call this afternoon. That happened they finished the surgery about 1 o'clock. They say he's doing well and hopes to be back in a race car soon. He was having a little trouble with some chest pains at their last race that they had at Carolina Speedway. So Hot Rod decided to go in and get checked, and they found out he needed that open heart surgery. So that has been taken care of, and all is well. So we're excited about that. Keep Hot Rod in your prayers as well. And Tyler Reddick, I want to thank him so much for paying homage to Scott Bloomquist in Victory Lane on Sunday. We'll talk a little more about that in the results time, but it was nice of Tyler to talk about his mentor, Scott Bloomquist, and what he meant to him and how important he was in his racing career. And I was glad to see Scott get some notoriety in a NASCAR event like that, as he mentioned him on Sunday afternoon. So it's time now to introduce our co-host tonight. We're excited tonight because Ryan Boles is co-hosting with us. He's on the way up right now. And I'll tell you how this thing got started. I was walking through the pits at Livonia back Memorial Day weekend, and Ryan was laughing and joking, and he said, how about I co-host with you, and I'm going to ask Jennifer Everett some questions. And I said, if you can get Jennifer to show up, we will do it. Lo and behold, dude, what are you doing to my...
I'm already breaking your stuff, Charles. You may want to get me off here.
So you got your tools, right?
Yeah.
So Ryan Boles joins us right now. Ryan, we're so glad to have you here, man. It's an exciting time, and I'm glad to have you. We got some questions for all of these great guests tonight. We're looking forward to that. But let's talk a little bit about your racing career. I know I've asked you in the past, but how did you get started? What was your first time out?
In 2009.
Put that closer to you.
In 2009, we started in a four-cylinder, and we run rookie for a couple years. My dad, he had a four-cylinder with Marty Hayes, and they run for a pretty good while. And then when they decided they was going to hang it up, I guess, I kind of
put that closer to you, man.
I kind of stepped in and we went from there. And we went from the four cylinders, and we made a leap up to the 602 class, and I just really didn't like it. So we decided to go back to modified street, and it seems to be working out for me pretty decent.
Yeah, you've had some good runs, good wins in modified street. You've had some struggles. I don't think you'll ever go back to a yellow car again, will you?
No way. We actually, the first night out in it, we made it to the first corner, and the front row spun out in front of us, and we wiped it out. So I think we're just going to stick with black from here on out.
That was not a good color for you. A yellow one wasn't. So let's talk a little bit about now the current season. How are you doing this year?
We're doing pretty good. We hadn't been racing as much as we have in the past, but I think we got 4 wins, 3 at Hartwood, 1 at Livonia. And, we're having our ups and downs like always. And so having a so-so year, I guess you'd say. It ain't outstanding, but it ain't the worst year ever.
Well, that was the yellow car year.
Yeah, the yellow car definitely was the worst year ever that we've had so far. I mean, I don't think we finished the race until... we probably went the first 4 months of the season before we even finished the race.
Wow.
So you'll have
years like that every once in a while.
Hopefully it won't be that bad for everybody.
We're going to talk a little bit about car numbers and car colors and that kind of thing a little later on. Whenever we have another guest, we're going to do that. But right now, it's time for you to introduce your special guest that you wanted to have on here because you wanted to roast her, I think. What's going on, Ryan?
Come on up, Jennifer.
Jennifer Everett is here with us, and I tell you what, I've been watching Jennifer for a lot of... You started out in Stock 4, didn't you? Wasn't that your first thing out in Stock 4?
Yes, sir.
And that was quite a while ago. How long have you been racing now?
22 years.
22 years. Golly. And, of course, you've had, like everybody in the racing world, you've had some ups and downs. I remember it seemed like every race I was at, a drive shaft or a transmission or something was coming through the floorboard with you.
Yeah, we didn't like that.
Yeah, that was tough times.
Rollovers here and
Shut
there.
up.
Yeah, or your car just quit right in front of the whole field, and you wind up in somebody rear-ending you. I mean, we
Yeah.
have seen you involved
Seen
in a
it
lot
all.
of things like that.
And
Yep.
I had to exaggerate that story a pretty good bit, you know.
Well, go ahead and tell that story.
Go on, let him
Well,
talk.
she just ended up on her top, and you know, I turned it into something way more than it was. You know, like she's still wide open.
Now, where was that?
afterward.
Hartwell.
When?
What,
Because
2
I
years
wasn't
ago?
announcing that race. I don't think I remember
I
that.
think it was at the end of the year
Oh.
before last.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I was announcing Hartwell, but I happened to be at Tacoma that night. I
Yeah.
remember that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was of interest. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. We won't talk about that.
So J19, how did the 19? I mean, obviously the J. We know where that came from. How did 19 come about?
That was Daddy's number. He ran it for years, and they wouldn't let me be 19 junior, so I just chose J19.
So you put it on the front instead of the back, the J.
Yeah.
So now, tell me about Ray's history in racing.
He started years ago. He started with Marty and them. They built a car out there at his car lot or whatever, and I don't know. He's been racing
Marty
forever.
Lance?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Him and Mike Bennett and that whole little crew. And he raced for years, and then I got started when I was 14. My mom raced also for a few years until she crushed her foot.
And where did she race?
Winder.
The Winder,
She
okay.
raced in the women's race. And then she raced with the men for a little while, and then she wrecked and crushed her foot, and she got out of it.
And
But-
she was actually pretty good and
Yeah.
like all the way around, wasn't she?
Yeah. She
I know
traveled
stories.
somewhere, I think it was Mississippi or somewhere,
Yeah.
I think, Louisiana, something like that. Went down there
Really?
and just waxed them. They told her not to come back.
Oh, well, of course.
She raced back when they had 4 cylinders, and she had the modified 4 cylinders.
Yeah.
And she did that, and like I said, until she crushed her foot.
Well, let me ask. This is a question that y'all might have an opinion on. You know, we used to have 4 cylinders and we had modified 4 cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the modifieds kind of went away, and KMSA rules kind of went modified, but not quite so much. What happened to modified 4s? That was a great class, and they were so much faster than a regular stock 4.
I feel like what you used to would call modified 4 has turned into like what the MMSA rules is.
Really?
Yeah, and I mean, really in the past, and I've been out of 4 cylinders probably 5, 6 years, 7, but in the 5 or 6 I was in it, I mean, just the technology evolved so much that there really wasn't a need for modified 4,
Right.
you know.
Well, even the 4 cylinders, that division, we've seen it shrinking down. Now it's kind of making a resurgence once again. Same thing happened with modified street. You know, there were a lot of years where I was talking with promoters, and they were saying, man, I don't know if we're going to run modified street again next year, and now it's come back into a strong division again.
Yeah, and it looks like in both classes I've actually caught myself saying, hey, you know, in 2 years we may not have a modified street, or in 2 years we may not have a 4-cylinder. And that's actually the reason why I got out of 4-cylinder. I just thought it was a dying class, and it looked like it looks like it's making a pretty good comeback.
Yeah. Well, for one thing, Stock 8 is getting more and more modified every time you turn around, you know. So eventually, it's kind of like the Enduros became the modified streets, and it's kind of making that progression again.
And I kind of feel like modified street is almost what the hobby class
Right.
used
It's a
to
lot
be.
like hobby, yeah.
You know, I kind of feel like it's just each of them's taking
Just take
the
a
other
name.
one's
Yep.
place.
And of course, as long as you're in racing, everybody wants a little something. We want to add this and make us a little faster or make us handle a little better. And of course, that costs more money, and it also, as you say, you're creeping up into the rules on the next one. But I think it was a very smart decision on the guys that decided to do 602 in place of hobby, because hobby was dying out, and I think that's been important to get those late model cars involved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah. So now, whenever you Corey Ray, tell us a little bit about her. I saw her first day at school, and she was not really pleased her first day at school. Tell us about that.
No. She was pretty mad. She went out. It was because she didn't eat. She didn't have food. I don't know. It's a whole new ball game. She started kindergarten. And she said I think she was just hangry. She said she didn't make any friends, and she was going to beat them all up when she went back the next day. So she went back the next day, she ate, and she was fine.
So everything's good
Everything's
now.
good so far.
Well, she came in. She's here with us tonight.
Here.
So glad
she
to
was
have her
She was
here
going to
with us
perform for y'all, but we left her guitar at home.
Okay. Well, I saw a saxophone. I'm not sure I'd want to put that in my mouth, but anyway, there's a sax
we
over
ain't
there on
gonna
the
talk
wall.
about it. She'll take over the show.
So tell me a little bit about what it's been like to have her at the racetrack.
Wild. She's all over the place. She stays with my mom most of the time, so she doesn't come often. But
Yeah.
when she's there, she'll watch a little bit, but she's getting where she pays a little bit more attention. Like I got run over at Winder the other week, and she wasn't happy about it. She said she was about to come out there and she was gonna get him, and she's pretty mean. She said she was gonna slice him up. So
Slice it
just
up.
know
Oh, my
when you
goodness.
mess with her mama.
That sounds like
she
the
coming.
Winder of old right there.
Yeah, she gets pretty serious when you mess with her mama.
But definitely don't mess with Bryson.
Yeah, well,
Don't mess with Bryson.
I was going to
because
say,
she loves him.
you and Bryson, y'all won one weekend. Y'all won together. Y'all won the same weekend, and you were hoping to try to do that at all three tracks. Hadn't worked out like that, but you did at Winder at least.
Yep. I think we done it at Winder.
And in Livonia, I think, didn't you?
No, I've never won.
Oh,
at
Hartwell.
Livonia.
Okay.
I think it was Hartwell and Winder.
You've never won at Livonia? You have never won at Livonia?
Mm-mm.
Well, you won at
I
Toccoa
led the
this
whole race one night. And
you won at Toccoa this year. You've already got that under your belt at
I
Toccoa.
won 2 at Toccoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But no, I've never won.
Man,
Only
I've
got
seen you
seconds, but I've
race
never won
so
at Livonia.
much at Livonia. I assumed you had.
Well, you can go ahead and change your gear and come tomorrow night.
Raymond said no.
Come on, Raymond.
Not going to allow that, huh?
No.
Well, now, whenever you look at you just made a home in Modified Street, but do you ever want to, advance up? Are you happy there or what?
I'm good.
Okay.
We're broke.
Oh.
And we got Bryson now. We can't afford that other stuff.
Well, now you put a lot of time in Bryson's car. You help him a lot too, don't you? I mean, it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
family affair, obviously.
yeah.
Yeah.
He don't pay for it.
And I was
He's
hoping,
still a
I'm sure-
teenager.
well, he's a high schooler. I was hoping to have him here tonight, but he said he had to get that car ready. He wasn't quite ready with it yet.
Yeah. And then his truck broke down, so he's.
Oh gosh,
that,
he
so.
got double things going on.
Yep.
So now, what do you look for him? I know you're kind of mentoring him. What do you look? When do you look to move him up, or what are you looking at as far as Bryson's career?
Well, me and Daddy's ready to move him up, but he likes 4-cylinder and he wants to stay there. So, I guess we'll give him another year or so.
So what would you
maybe.
move him up to?
I don't know. He says he's going to take my car.
Okay.
So we'll
All right.
see.
Well, so are you ready to
Not yet.
step out of the
Not yet.
J19?
Not yet,
Okay.
but we'll see.
As far as I know, you've always run a blue car. Have you ever had any other color than blue?
I had a black car one time because we bought it and it had a new body on it and it was black, so we just left it.
Yeah.
But it changed right after that.
Oh.
We went back to blue.
I got
And
you.
that's just the way it's been.
Oh, I got to tell this story.
Okay.
I did a show one night, had Jennifer on the show. This is a radio show, and I think I had texted her, "Thanks for being on the show." Well, I was at Livonia announcing, and my wife told me that she was going to bed, and she said, "I'll see you later." And I said, "Good night, baby doll." And I texted it to Jennifer by mistake instead of texting it to my wife, and Jennifer's down there going, "What?" So anyway. That was an interesting text that went awry. That's been 7-8 years ago. That's a while ago. Yeah, good grief. So now, you were going to ask her, you were going to put her on the spot about something. What were you going to grill her about?
So, Jennifer, a lot of people.
You put that up to your mouth.
A lot of people don't know this, but Jennifer, she's got the side right here. And then she's got the side, when we go to the racetrack, and then that turns different. We can cut up all day long sitting at the trailer, and then when we go up to the staging lane, we ain't quite friends no more. She comes up and she gives me some gestures sometimes.
Some gestures?
And I don't know if it's, trying to
Are
get
these
me
facial gestures or finger roll gestures?
Finger.
Yeah.
I just tell him he's number one.
I'm sure.
Every
Yeah.
week.
I'm sure.
I just let him know.
And I just don't understand it because I'm always just waving.
I'm sure you're Mr.
Right?
Nice Guy, right?
Right? Don't let him lie. Don't let him lie.
So, that's the one thing. I'm in the tower, so I don't see all this pre-race stuff that's going on right there on the racetrack. I see you before and after. Either everybody's really happy before or really aggravated after, but I don't see the stuff happening right in the middle.
Yeah,
Well,
I think with me and her though, we've always had like a lot of respect towards each other. As far as just racing in general. Like at Hartwell this year, I mean, she gave me a door full every lap, and probably was a faster car. They just wouldn't have grooved enough on the bottom or top, and a lot of people wouldn't have raced you that clean, I don't feel like. But I know in return, when I'm in the same position, how I'm going to race her.
Sure.
He'll hit me. Don't let him lie. He'll hit me.
He'll put you out.
Nah, I won't.
Oh, yeah. Matthew's Rhett. Matthew Lance's little son, Rhett. I never will forget that whenever we had the Power Wheels. Were you out there whenever we had the Power Wheels racing? And just as they were coming out, Rhett just spun the guy in front of him out. And I interviewed him, and I said, Rhett, what do you think about that? And he said, put him in the wall. And Matthew said, we got troubles. And I told Lindsay, I said, y'all got your hands full with Rhett.
He was trying to set the tone as soon as they got started.
He was. You don't know how special this is to have Jennifer here. She's very shy. Every time, usually when I ask her to do the show, she's got something that just came up all of a sudden where she can't do it. But we appreciate you being here tonight, and I know you wouldn't have been here if Ryan hadn't have been hosting. So
yeah, she had about 14 different things come up over the last 2 weeks. And
right.
We still got her here, though. Okay, maybe 3 or 4, not 14.
Well, I had to text Ryan several times. It ain't going to be this week. Maybe next week because of this. Because of Jennifer getting here.
I have a lot of stuff going on, for real. I'm busy.
I know. I'm not complaining. I'm just stating the facts.
We're here.
All right, so what about this weekend?
We're going to Winder.
Okay.
Bryson's going to be back, so we'll both be over there. So
okay.
Maybe the car will run better.
You got the Classic Vintage Racing Series going to be at Winder. That's a big thing. If you haven't seen the Classic Vintage Racing Series, you got Brett Carey racing in that now. If he's feeling better, he's been kind of under the weather. Hopefully he'll be better. But you get to see all these old cars, 55 Chevrolets, 65 Mustangs, Falcons. Man, it's just so cool. And the Skeeters, it is so cool to see all those old cars on the track. So for you as a competitor, whenever they show up, does that affect the schedule for you? Do you say, oh, crap, these guys are going to be dropping oil on the track? Or does that affect you in any way?
No, not really. Not really. Winder's a pretty good track all night, so.
Well, and you can't say enough about what Stephen has done with that place.
Right.
Wayne Martin makes a racetrack great. Stephen does a good job. He has elevated the status of Winder Bear Speedway a lot.
Yes, definitely.
And of course,
if it hadn't been, you need
Woody
to go.
has brought it down, but Stephen is trying to bring it up as best he can.
Speaking of Woody, if you see this, we need to get Raymond in the Hall of Fame this year out at Winder.
We'll work on that. Yeah, Woody has been a co-host, by the way, on the show, so we enjoyed Woody's opportunity. Jennifer, thank you again.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. Hope you enjoyed the food at Moogie's.
Yeah, it was good.
When I texted Jennifer, she said, that's like an hour and a half away.
It was.
Well, Broughton and his family, they are, 6 hours? 5 hours. 5 hours from Savannah, so don't tell me that. Don't tell me that hour and a half stuff no more.
Well, they don't have Corey Ray, though.
That's true.
They're not getting cussed at the whole way.
Anyway, thank you, Jennifer.
Yep.
Thanks for being here.
Y'all.
Jennifer Everett has been our guest. We got more to come on the show. And by the way, I need to give our co-host his official, check this out, his official co-host tumbler. So you can have that to show her. I'll put it over here till you get done. So you don't have to sit there and hold it. Our program is brought to you, by the way, by, we're at Moogie's Mill Creek Gathering Place. What a great place to be. It's on the shores of Lake Hartwell, and I hope you come out and enjoy that. Man, I've had this salmon salad for the last 2 or 3 times we've been here. Enjoy it so much, but they got plenty of things on the menu you can enjoy. Jackie Jones, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Cleveland, Georgia. Just up there, and enjoy the folks at Jackie Jones so much. If you're involved with a Jeep or a Ram, or you want a Chrysler or Dodge product, check them out at Jackie Jones, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Mid-South Cage Equipment, they're the sponsor of our results portion of the program. They're located in Royston. If you're looking to get in the poultry industry, I suggest you go by talk to Scoot Rice and his staff. They'll set you up with getting your houses built, getting the equipment in and everything at Mid-South Cage Equipment. Bulldog Car Wash is in Toccoa. They're offering the $5 Champ Show Car Wash. Just pull in there and say, I want the Champ Show Car Wash for $5. Run your car through, and that's what
It's off.
Oh, okay. It's back on. Somehow another Wi-Fi password just showed up on my screen, but we're back on. Simpson Trucking and Grading is in Gainesville. They're great guys. If you want a basement dugout, they'll do that. If you want a mountain move, they can do it at Simpson Trucking and Grading in Gainesville. Smith Tire, Adam Smith, he can fix your car up with tires. They carry all brands. They can do brakes and light mechanic work at Smith Tire. Look for the big car on the pole in Livonia on Jones Street at Smith Tire. And, of course, our racetrack sponsors, Livonia Speedway tomorrow night, big race going on at Livonia Speedway. It's the Dixie Dirt Queen Powder Puff race for the ladies. Also, Kids Night at Livonia Speedway. So we hope you'll enjoy Livonia Speedway tomorrow night. Tagore Raceway, they've got a big race coming up on Saturday night. They're going to be making money up for Gordon Welch. You know, Gordon passed away a couple of weeks ago, and they're going to be trying to defer his funeral expenses and taking up money for that on Saturday night at Tagore Raceway. And the Classic Vintage Racing Series is at Winder Speedway this weekend as well. Remember to put in the comments where you're viewing from. We always like to know where everybody's viewing from, and we would appreciate that. Next guest up, Lisa Jordan is on the way up right now. Many of you around this area certainly have known Lisa. You were at the track when she and Randall were, either promoting or selling parts or racing strong, or as she told me a while ago, maybe after the race, y'all were with them doing some enjoyable stuff too.
Yeah.
some partying stuff. Anyway, she's been involved in racing for a long time. You're still involved now. One of the things that you do is, of course, the Rusty Jordan Memorial. We were happy to be part of that this year.
Thank you.
And one great thing that you've done, you created a scholarship for a deserving driver to get some money to help his racing career, and it's none other than Ryan Boles. How about that? That's pretty cool. How'd that come about?
Well, that was not my idea. I won't take credit for that. That was Taylor's idea.
Oh, really?
Yes. He has been great to work with. But yeah, he called me, and after, I don't know, it's probably 2 or 3 days after the race, and told me what he wanted to do, and I thought it was a great idea, and he said I want you to pick somebody that would be deserving of this. And so I kind of looked at it like I was trying to find somebody that maybe kind of raced kind of like Rusty did, no fancy hauler, nothing fancy, So I chose Rhino here.
Right, what was it like for you to get that award or accolade or whatever you want to call it, that scholarship?
It actually helped us a lot. We actually had a rear end tear up
at
the Rusty Jordan Memorial race, so that actually went towards it, and we did some other stuff to pay it forward with that. And but I mean, it was very humbling, and just I don't even know really the words to say for it, but I'm very appreciative of that.
Yeah. Well, it couldn't be to a nicer person. And not only that, I was announcing at Hartwell, and they had written down Ryan Boles in the 5-car, and so the 5-car went by, and down the back straightaway I started looking for the 5-car, and I couldn't find it because you had Rusty's number on one side and Randall's number on the other side. You had a 5 on one side and a 6 on the other side.
Well, I had the 2, but one side looked like one of Randall's cars, and one of them looked like Rusty's cars with the green and purple.
Right.
We did that, as a
the car looked different. When it went down the back straightaway, I thought, where'd that car go? I was just looking at it. It's gone.
Yeah.
So what prompted you to honor Rusty and Randall with that?
Rusty, we actually went and picked that car up in the winter, and we was, getting ready to start building it. So when I got ready to go from a 602 to modify a street, Rusty, he kind of come over there one night, and I just had this dejected look on my face, and Rusty told me, he said, hey, he said, I know where there's a car at just like mine, and I said, because I'm just ready to get out of this 602, and I looked at him, I said, I don't know nothing about a leaf spring car, Rusty, and he kind of chuckled a little bit, and he said, just so happens I know somebody that does. So, and I just wanted to, I guess you say, incorporate him in the wrap of the car. And then my mom, she kind of come up with incorporating. I think y'all actually sat down and went through pictures, right, for that car?
I gave her a folder full of pictures of Randall and Rusty, and because I thought what they were doing was great, you know. And so I kind of helped her with that. And then when I saw it, it was just mind blowing. It was very
that was
heartfelt.
pretty cool. Yeah,
it was cool.
But whenever back in the 70s, early 80s, whatever, when that Hoosier Tire trailer came in, you knew you was covered. Parts were going to be there. Everybody knew exactly what they needed and knew Randall, and you were going to have it there. So y'all were so important to the racing world, not just for what Randall did on the racetrack, but what y'all did for everybody around the racing vicinity.
Oh, yeah, I can remember, pulling in at the track, Livonia, Westminster, Hartwell, Toccoa, all of them, and there would be so many people there standing there with gas jugs, we couldn't even hardly get the door down to open up, but they were all glad to help. And it was, we sold parts for years, and I worked and they raced.
Yeah.
And y'all actually changed tires on the back of the...
We
y'all
did.
had the tire machine.
Yeah, we changed tires at the racetrack, had gas, all kind of, anything you needed, we had it there for years.
Yeah.
And now when I go to the racetrack, I see a van down there or something that's a parts trailer, and I'm like, what could be in that? Because, we had to have the Hoosier trailer and a cube van and everything, because Randall thought we had to sell everything at the racetrack.
Yeah.
Well, now
you got to
rebuild a car out of that.
You got a parts trailer and you got a fuel trailer now, so it's two different entities.
Yes.
Randall pretty much owned Westminster. He was so good at that racetrack, so many wins there. And y'all promoted Hartwell for a while, didn't you? Weren't you the promoters at Hartwell?
Well, we had Westminster in '99.
Westminster, okay.
Me and Randall and Jody and his wife.
Yeah.
We ran Westminster in '99, and then we had Hartwell in 2000 and 2001.
I got you.
2001, the start of the year, we had 19 rainouts.
Oh Lord, have mercy.
That wiped us out.
Wow.
It didn't rain at like 5 o'clock. It rained at like 8:30 and 9 o'clock. So,
oh man.
And 19 in a row. And that was it for us. We couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
We didn't have deep enough pockets.
Bud Lunsford told me one time, I was sitting at Lanier, we'd had a bunch of rainouts like that, and he said, Charles, you know what I'm going to do? And I said, what's that, Bud? He said, I'm going to plant me a row of tomato plants right behind pit wall, because it gets more rain than anywhere else in the world.
Yep. Yep, I believe it. Yep.
So now, what were the Randall? He raced and won so many races, super late model racing back in those days. Everybody ran super late models on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah.
What is the one race that just automatically comes to your mind as a favorite?
The Shriners race at Lawrence. He was very proud to win that race. We had went several times to Lawrence for this race. And every time we pulled in, there would be big haulers there. And there we were with our little open trailer, And he would always run pretty good, maybe top 10. But the year that he won that, that one was special to him.
I bet so, yeah.
It really was.
Yeah. Well, we lost Randall at an early age, and, of course, we lost Rusty at an early age. I remember I was in the tower one night at Livonia, and it's an hour before the race started. And we saw, I don't know if you were there, you probably were there, we saw Rusty's car on the back of he wasn't driving the truck, but we saw the pickup come in, and we saw the water truck coming up, and I went, uh-oh, this ain't good. And all of a sudden the water truck put his brakes on and slid right, the truck didn't make it into the pits, right in there, clipped the hitch off the truck. I think it pulled a bumper off. I don't know what all it did to it, but they had to work on the trailer to get the car unloaded that night, and he had to work on the trailer to try to get it back home. It was quite a deal.
Oh yeah.
But I talked to Rusty about that later, and he said, I wasn't driving that truck.
Yeah, no, he wasn't. He hadn't even got there yet, actually, and I hadn't got there yet. He called me and he said, "Mama, you ain't gonna believe this." I said, "What do you mean?" Because I knew nothing had started yet, And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You should see my car." He said, they actually got ran over by the water truck. I said, how in the world did that happen? He said, Mama, I don't know. He said, I got to go. Daddy's calling me. So yeah, it was. I didn't even go that night because, yeah.
Well, it was like in slow motion. You could just see it happening, and nobody could do anything about it because the truck was sliding on the mud.
Yeah.
They had the brakes on, but it just slid right into it and clipped the car and the trailer right off.
Yep.
What about the time, maybe Hartwell, didn't he pull somebody to the track?
That was David McCoy.
Yeah, they had truck problems on the way to the track, and I heard them. He actually hooked it to the back of his trailer and pulled.
Oh, really? Both of them? Tandem trailers?
He pulled everybody to the track that
the
night.
truck, the trailer and all. He come in with that old Chevrolet that he had. It was pretty tough because he pulled them all the way. And it was funny because David said, I didn't know if we was going to make it or not. He said, there was a few sketchy times. He said, we was on them back roads. And he said, I think he forgot we were behind him.
I got it. Well, Rusty, he was talking about leaf springs. He kind of did a little foray into 602 racing or 604 racing at the time, fast track racing. He got into the late model thing for a while, and I remember he told me, he said, I don't think this is for me, and he went back to Modified Street.
Yeah, he hated it. He did not like that class. Modified Street was his. Well, he ran 4-cylinder, when he first started.
Right.
When he started when he was 12. But that year that he ran that car, he told me, he said, Mom, I'm not having fun. He said, it's not fun to work on it. It's not fun to drive it. I said, well, go back to having fun. He said, that means I'm going to be back in Modified Street.
Yeah.
That was his sweet spot. He loved it.
Yeah. Billy Buffington, hopefully, is going to be my co-host next week. We're trying to work his schedule out to do that. And Billy told me the story after Rusty passed. He said I was sitting in the shop one night and Rusty called me and he said, you need a specific part to run on your car to be able to keep up with me. I mean, that's the new thing. You got to have it. And Billy said, I had trouble understanding what he said. And he said, Rusty went out there and took a picture and said, order this part. And you don't find many competitors that are telling somebody else what to do to keep up with them. Usually they want to have the advantage, and that's the kind of guy Rusty was.
Yeah, he loved the competition. He really did. He didn't want to go outrun the same 2 or 3 cars every week. He wanted people that he raced with to get better. He wanted that side by side racing. He loved it.
Yeah, and when we went and picked my leaf spring car up, we was on the way back, and we actually took Rusty's truck, and just in a joking manner, I looked at him. I said, "Hey," I said, I'm gonna try to outrun you with this thing, and you gonna help me set it up. And he just started, laughing, and he told me, he said, "That's what I want." He wanted everybody. Yeah. He's one of the drivers that he had that silent confidence. He wasn't gonna boast about it, but he wanted everybody to be on the same playing field. That way you can see who's the better driver. Right, I feel like,
right. And it's no fun winning against somebody that you know's got inferior stuff. You want everybody to have as good a stuff as you got, so you know who's the best talent on the racetrack or who can set it up the best, whatever the situation is. And I know Jennifer, Rusty helped. We should have talked to Jennifer about Rusty. He helped her so much on her race team and with her race car till there's just so many out there that Rusty had a hand in helping out that ran against him on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah, he liked racing with Jennifer. He talked about it quite a bit. He said, for a girl, she's pretty badass. I don't know if you ever told her that.
That's the ultimate compliment right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever told her, but I'm telling her now.
So now, do you have any involvement? Who are you watching in racing now? Who do you kind of look at, and every week you want to know how they did?
There's a couple of young guys I look at. Some of the little Aiden Fortson, I kind of keep up with him some, and of course Evan, my nephew, sure. Evan Brown. There's quite a few.
Evan, he's like just slow talking and just get out there and drive the heck out of a race car, but just very even keeled and slow talking guy.
Yep. Yep, Evan's very laid back.
Yeah.
He's a good kid. He really is, and a dang good driver.
Yeah, he is.
Driver.
Yeah, and he's got hooked up with Ray and them now, and running their other car, and he's doing really good in Cameron's other car.
Well, he's not driving that.
Oh,
anymore.
he's not. Oh, that's okay. Well, I didn't mean to get into something that wasn't there. I didn't know that.
No, it's fine. He's not driving that anymore. Evan and Kelly actually had a wreck.
Oh, really?
He wrecked. A guy hit them. They were going to supper one night.
Oh, wow.
And a guy hit them in the truck. The truck turned over like 2.5 times.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
But I think it's going to be a little bit before Evan gets back in a car.
Yeah, probably so. Wow.
But yeah, he's fun to watch.
Yeah.
He's one of. They call him the boogeyman for a reason.
Yeah. That's for sure. I have to tell you, you were probably there at Toccoa one night when Clifton and Rusty, they just were having a difficult race. They were like magnets. If they got near each other, somebody was going to get touched or worse by the other one. And poor old Crandall Turner was in that race, and Rusty or Clifton one was trying to get to the other one and really spin them out, and they wound up spinning Crandall, and it just tore his car all to pieces. And yet that wasn't the intended consequence, but sometimes stuff happens. And then a few years later, we're all sitting there, and either Rusty was driving Clifton's car or vice versa, and we thought, how did they mend those fences so quick? But that's the way racers do.
That's right. Well, Clifton, when me and Randall were married, Cliff didn't live, but you could throw a rock and hit the top of his house from us, and it was kind of crazy because Rusty would, every time he drew for Cliff when he was just a kid, he set him on the front row every time. So Clifton would wait to draw, he'd get Rusty to draw for him. And then Rusty comes in a few years later and says, Mom, I'm fixing to start driving Clifton Snow's car. I said, can y'all get along long enough for you to drive?
Yeah, but that was one of them things. As soon as I heard about it, I knew that was going to be a pretty good little, good little deal because them two together.
Well, that's when Clifton had that gold car,
yes.
And that was a sharp car, and it ran well too.
Yes.
Despite what Rusty tried to do to put him out of the race, it still ran well.
Yes.
Yeah. I knew, it had got to a point, it seemed like it was them two racing for the win. Well, when you take Rusty and put him in that car, I knew it was going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was a good team.
And, of course, Daniel and Rusty are very close friends, too. Daniel Snow.
Oh, yeah. They grew up together. I was just telling Wesley a while ago, they would go down in the junkyard. We had a junkyard, and they'd go down there and get a car running. I thought they were at the creek or something. And the next thing I know, this car would pull up in the yard, and he'd be like, Mama, go get me some gas. I said, where did you get that car? It was in the junkyard. We got it running. And they had a racetrack in the pasture.
Yeah.
So him and Daniel would take turns driving this old Cutlass, and the trunk lid wouldn't stay down. And they put the dog in the back.
Oh, no.
And go round and round, and that trunk lid just up and down, up and down. And
why would they put the dog in the back? You know, in the trunk?
No,
in the back seat?
In the back seat.
Okay.
That dog went everywhere with Rusty.
I got you. Okay.
He went everywhere.
Well, at least it's back seat, not the trunk.
Yeah, it was the back seat. But I think if Rusty told that dog to get in the trunk, he probably would have.
Oh, Lordy.
But yeah, they had him a racetrack out there in the field, and one Sunday morning, when we got up, I was like, Randall, where's Rusty? He said, I don't know. I said, I don't know either. I said, we got to find him. So I went outside, and the whole field was on fire.
Oh, no.
They had been racing that car, and all the church people right down below us was Pleasant Grove Church, and church people all up and down the side of the road, everything, the field just blazing. And them two were standing on the sidelines waiting for somebody to put the fire out so they could get back in the car and go again.
Of course, goodness. Well, we appreciate what you do for the Rusty Jordan Memorial, and especially now that you've got the scholarship going. That is an amazing thing. I've announced one race this year, and that's because you asked would I specifically come out of retirement and do it, and I was happy to do so. I felt like I knew Rusty well, and I think it's important when you have those memorial races to have somebody that at least knew them
That's
to
right.
do it. And I
That's
appreciate
right.
you asking me. It was an honor.
I appreciate you doing it.
Yeah.
That meant a lot to
Well,
me.
I appreciate Debbie for allowing me to.
Yes.
I'm on her schedule now.
I appreciate Debbie too. I really do. I really do.
Lisa, thanks. Thanks for being here. It's been fun reminiscing and talking about good old times.
That's right. Thank you.
Lisa Jordan has been here as our guest. We got Broughton Boatright coming up next. We're going to learn something about a new driver that we don't know a whole lot about. We can't wait to do that. While Broughton's on the way up, let me tell you about our sponsors. Our Moogie's Mill Creek Gathering Place is where we are tonight. We'll be back here again next Thursday night. So make sure you're here with us next Thursday night for another on-location show here at Moogie's Mill Creek Gathering Place. Peach State Auto Parts and Recycling, they're located in Cannon. Scott Heumann and his staff, they got all kind of parts down there. They can also help you with your roll-off bins. You can take your recyclables and so forth at Peach State Auto Parts and Recycling. Bowling Farm Supply at the corner of Highway 128 and Damascus Road in Baldwin. It's like stepping back in time. Go in there and see that great store, great specialized, personalized service for you. Greg Bowling and the staff just do a tremendous job at Bowling Farm Supply. Also, Safety Plus, that's Wendell and Pat Norton. They're located on Cannon Bridge Road in Cornelia for all your safety and welding supplies. Nobody better than Safety Plus. Hugh Bryant, Antler Creations Taxidermy. It's about that time, hunters. Not long from now, we're going to start getting those trophy bucks and taking them down to Hugh Bryant. He does such excellent work on New Franklin Bridge Road in Livonia. That is Antler Creations Taxidermy, and my buddy Hugh Bryant will take care of you. Our racetrack sponsors include Atlanta Motorsports Park. They got a big race coming up this weekend. It's going to be huge at Atlanta Motorsports Park. If you've never been there, check them out in Dawsonville, Georgia. One of the greatest racetracks around. If you like road courses, you'll love this racetrack. World acclaimed Atlanta Motorsports Park. Also, Toccoa Raceway racing on Saturday night. They're going to be making up money for the Gordon Welch family to pay offset some of his funeral expenses at Toccoa Raceway this week. So make sure you're there for that. And, of course, Livonia Speedway has the Dirt Queen Powder Puff Race and Kids Night coming up tomorrow night. That's a rain out from last week, and that's scheduled for tomorrow night at Livonia Speedway. Winder Bear Speedway on Saturday night has the Classic Vintage Racing Series. Great to see those guys on the racetrack and see those cars of old, what made racing great back in the day. So you'll see that at Winder Bear Speedway on Saturday night. Remember to tell us where you're viewing from. Put that in the comment section. We appreciate that very much. And we welcome to the program now a driver that I'm getting to know for the first time. Broughton Boatright is with us right now. And, man, glad to have you here. You came quite a distance to get here tonight.
Yes, sir, we have. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, 5 hours they drove up here. They're driving back to their Savannah area home tonight and then coming back up here to race this weekend. So a lot of miles on the road, huh?
Yes, sir, of course. Anything to stay behind the wheel.
Yeah, but behind the wheel either in a race car or in the traveling car to get there, right?
Yes, sir.
So now tell me a little bit about you got started. You're only, what, 15 now, right?
15, yes,
15.
sir.
Can you imagine at 15 what he's been able to do so far, Ryan? Man.
I actually was, I told him earlier, I was Facebook stalking him a little bit
Yeah.
to find out a little bit about him. And through July the 27th, I think I seen you had a post. You was,
Put that closer to your mouth.
5 for 11, somewhere in there.
Yeah, something like that.
You don't clicked off.
Yeah.
So far this year, we're up to 6 wins and 13 races.
Wow.
So working towards it, getting there. Finally got to the point where figured out some stuff around the car. Some people would say, call it, you finally got rid of the bad luck, but me and Dad spent countless hours under the car in the shop, and I just feel like luck isn't. I feel like once you work on the car enough and you know your car is right and where it needs to be, luck kind of falls out the equation.
Yeah, I've always said the race is won in the shop. It's realized when the checkered flag comes down at the track, but it's won in the race shop for sure.
Yes, sir. For sure.
So now, you've traveled quite extensively. Where all have you raced? Not just, you were winner at Toccoa recently, a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, sir.
You're going to be back at Toccoa this Saturday night.
Yes, sir.
And you've run a Sharp Mini late model. Let's make that clear. It's a Sharp Mini late model, which are sharp cars. I hate to say that. I mean, that's kind of a obvious thing, but they're sharp little race cars.
Yeah.
And the horsepower to weight ratio on those things is very similar to a super late model.
Yes, sir. So the 600cc motorcycle engine and the cars weigh with the driver and everything in them just right around 1,000 pounds. The weight limit's 975.
So now, what engine are you using?
It's a Suzuki engine straight off of a motorcycle.
Okay, so it is Suzuki.
Motorcycle. Yes,
I got you. And that's very similar to what a Legends car is running, is it not?
Yes, sir. It's the same type of engine, motorcycle engine. I believe Legend cars is 1,000 cc's or 600 cc's.
Okay. But they fly.
Oh, they do.
I've always thought they're like water bugs. I mean, they just go everywhere on the racetrack.
And that's because I started out in a Mini when I was 12 and ran a V8 car some year of 2022, and then we ended up back in the Mini because we felt that was best fitting for me and where we want to go, which is probably 602 because the speed is similar in speed. We run almost identical lap times, 602 late models. Some tracks even identical lap times, 604 late models.
I've heard drivers talk about the seat of the pants feel. Did you get a very similar seat of the pants feel in that as you would a 4-bar late model car?
Yeah, I mean, the car drive fairly. I've never drove a late model. If anybody has a late model and wants me to drive, I'll be happy to hop behind the wheel. But yeah, I'd love to get behind the wheel late model, see what that feels like. But the biggest thing when people ask me the difference between a V8 car, my big is actually a Road Warrior, so like a Thunder Bomber, and the Sharp Mini late model. Biggest thing I like to tell them is the big car you strap into, and the Mini late model you strap onto you. Yeah. As in, you can put the Mini late model where you want it to go. Yeah. The big car, once you set the car, once the weight transfers, that's it. Yeah. Like the Mini, I can set the car and halfway through the corner, I don't want to be on top no more. I want to go to the bottom. I can re-rotate the car and go right to the bottom if I want to. And that's just something that's so unique about the Mini late model.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
You feel like the Mini late models versus what you have drove in the past is very driver friendly, in other words.
Well, they'll bite you in the butt real quick if you're not careful. But the biggest things are really fast. So like you gotta be thinking steps ahead. Yeah, quick. Stuff happens quick, and especially with them not weighing so much. I mean, you're moving. I wouldn't necessarily say they're super driver friendly, but I mean, probably one of the more friendlier.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is they're maybe not set up. They're set up dependent, but you can take one that's off just a little bit and drive around the problem to get you through that race.
Now, you have some tracks that's more sensitive, like Cherokee. It's super, super sensitive because it's so big and the car is just going so fast. If you're around the round 2 off, it's the difference between 1st and 5th place. I mean, there's multiple times where we've had cars 10th off of each other. And, but yeah.
So now, with the Sharp Mini late model, do you have places near where you live that you can run those on a regular basis or sporadically, or how does that work?
So we're trying to get more races down there. We've ran a few races at Golden Isles, a few races at Swainsboro and Dublin and all. But the majority of the races has kind of came up to North Georgia, so that's why we're having to travel extensively to come stay behind the wheel and race. But I think there's a few things in the works trying to get Mini late models back down south a little bit more.
It's a funny thing because they started in your area. That's sort of where they began. That's the Sharp, when they built them at the Sharp factory.
Yes, sir.
And that's sort of how that started. Now, are all those still built at the same place, or multiple people building those now?
Yeah, so Spencer Harp is the main person behind them. He builds them out of a little town called Portal, which is 15 minutes outside of Statesboro, Georgia. So he's the main producer of them. And then you have a Virginia builder. And I think maybe one more builder, but I can't quite remember. I think the majority of cars comes from Spencer Harp in Statesboro, Georgia.
Gotcha. I've got a friend who lived in Montana, but he's recently moved to Tennessee, and he bought one when he was in Montana, but he's now racing it somewhere in the Memphis, I don't know, somewhere in Tennessee, I don't know, but there must be a hotbed of those in Tennessee also.
So there's a hub, North Georgia, there's a hub in Tennessee, a hub in Pennsylvania, and a hub out in like Arizona, California area.
I see.
So I think there's a little hub in Oklahoma too. So they're kind of scattered around. But yeah, there's I think about 260 cars out there, give or take.
So, a lot of cars.
Yes, sir.
So now, I'm sure that the steering is much quicker in one of these than it would be like in the Road Warrior you were talking about. That's got to be a little sloppy steering, and you got to turn the wheel a whole lot to go somewhere. These, I'm sure, are very tight, aren't they?
Yeah, it's almost kind of like similar to a go-kart feel.
Yeah. So now, we were talking earlier about your education and how that's working out. You've got some very favorable folks at your school. So many drivers that are in a position you're in, either homeschool or they have some kind of online schooling, but you chose the traditional route.
Yeah, so I go to a career technical school. I'm in the welding class. I'm trying to take that path. I started welding when I was 10 years old and stuck with it, and actually this past summer I went up to Spencer Harp's factory, Sharp Manufacturing, and I learned, improved my welding skills. I started fabricating Crown Vic chassis, Crown Vic cages. I learned plasma cutting, CNC tables, CNC machines, SolidWorks on computers, and my goal is to build my toolbox essentially to offer to somebody in the future. I want to know and learn everything I can because I just want to have that to offer somebody in the future.
That's fantastic. So now, what's your next step? What are you looking at for the future? Do you have a plan, or are you just kind of taking it as it comes, or what?
So my short-term goal is try and get in a late model. 602 late model, 604 late model.
Is that why you were asking anybody if they had one? Let's come on
he's
up.
Putting it out there.
I mean, hey, I'm not going to turn it down.
Shoot, yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of my short-term goal. But I guess if you want to kind of switch over to long-term goals, Scott Bloomquist, as you mentioned earlier, Scott Bloomquist was a big influencer to me. He was very good behind the wheel, but also having his own chassis and coming up with as many ideas that he's came up with. Like, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, he came up with putting the left rear shock in front of the axle, stuff like that. He's influenced a lot of my ideas, and I kind of maybe want to try and be like a Scott Bloomquist one day.
Yeah, there's nobody better in the dirt world to look at emulating the Scott Bloomquist.
Yeah, he's really also influenced me to think outside the box, even what I'm doing today. I mean, this happened. It's been many cases where I'm discussing stuff with other drivers. They're like, "You did what?" And I'm like, "It's working. Like, sure, you got to try something, you know."
Yeah.
Do you know, Scott? While we're on the subject of Bloomquist, do you know he came and ran a NASCAR race with us in I don't know 90? He had just come back from Australia, and he was running the Super V8 cars in Australia. And I remember I had him on a show, and I was asking him about that, and he said the hardest thing to do was they go counterclockwise, where here we race clockwise, or we race counterclockwise. They go clockwise, and he said your body's just not set up for that. You're just not accustomed to turning that direction. He said that was the hardest thing to get used to there. But he came down to Peach State, down at Jefferson, Georgia, and ran a NASCAR All-Pro race with us. And he wound, first time he'd ever been on asphalt, and he finished second in that NASCAR All-Pro race. He had a really good race. I think somebody told me that was in '94. It was still called Georgia International at that time. But Bloomquist has got a lot of history in this area.
Yes, sir.
What were you going to say, Ryan?
I was just going to mention, going along with what you said, I think that's really the path you've taken is a really good path, because I think that's what set Bloomquist apart from 90% of your drivers. You know, a lot of the drivers can get out and tell a crew chief what needs to be done to the car, but Bloomquist, I felt like, just from what I know of him, he could get out and diagnose the problem and then go to the shop and machine whatever he needed to fix it, you know.
Yeah.
So I feel like he had the whole
You said it perfectly. I
Smart
don't want to know what to do. I want to know what to do, why it works, how it works, when to do it, when not to do it. I want to know everything behind the scenes of something. I want to know. I want to be independent.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that will benefit me in the long run to offer to somebody, like I was saying, building my toolbox.
Yeah. We watched, when we were in Havre, Tampa, we would watch Bloomquist, and right before the race would start, you'd see Scott come out with a screwdriver about this long, and he'd run that thing down in the track, and he'd pull it out, and he was seeing how much moisture was in the track, and he would gauge how he wanted to set things up by how much moisture the track had, how deep that the moisture was in the racetrack.
Yeah, and to touch on what he was saying also, that's another reason I went and spent time with Spencer Harp, and I'm extremely thankful he let me come in so gracefully. I learning the SolidWorks and the different CNC machining and stuff. I hopefully I can get to a point sooner rather than later developing my own parts and stuff.
Yeah, that'd be good. Now, where did you run your very first race?
So my very first race was at Overthorpe Speedway, back when they were still open. But let's back up a little bit. So I was at Overthorpe Speedway before I could remember. I mean, 1 year old probably, and about time when I was 3, I found a girl named Jordan Yon, and I'd follow her around the pits and ask a million questions and bug her and all. And then about time when I was 8 or so,
she was racing at that point.
Yeah, she was racing late models. So then about time I was 9, stayed in contact with Jordan, and then about time I was 9, she offered me to come travel with her a little bit. So I think we went to Sumter Speedway, Modoc Speedway, and just kind of built that relationship, and I just learned and learned and learned and learned. And stagger, this, that, all the basics, she taught me so much. And then when I was 12, or actually when I was 10, I sat my parents down at the dining room table, and I was like, why don't y'all believe in me? Why am I not behind the wheel anymore?
That was a tough conversation, wasn't it?
And so, yeah, when I was 12, I got a suit for my birthday, and I think about 2 or 3 weeks later, I drove the car around in a field for 15 minutes and put it on the trailer, went to the track, and I did 3 open practice sessions, and then went out and I finished 7th in my first race.
That's pretty cool. So now, where did your number come from?
So, actually, my dad had a big body Chevelle or Monte Carlo, and he was number 9, and that's the car that he drove when I was growing up, and car I remember the most, and that he was number 9. That's just what I've always stuck with.
I got you. So do you have folks that help you besides your parents on your race team?
Yeah, so I got an amazing group of sponsors. My sponsors are very unique, and I kind of like to refer to them as partners, more or less. I got sponsors that I feel like they're with me no matter what. I mean, they're always going to be behind me, and they believe in my ideas and my mind and stuff. And so, like, I got Evans Delivery Company and Michael Wedding Camp. They've been great. They've been with me since day one. Matt Greenspan, he owns R&B Enterprises. He's full on, 100% in, probably until he can't no more. Like, he's set with me. We got Trey Drawdy HVAC. He's amazing. He helps out a whole bunch. Cindy Brett, she's helped me out tremendously to try and get my name out there. She's worked with me a bunch. Wicked Fabrication, that's Banjo Duke. He's helped me a lot too. I've learned a lot with him. I helped build a car with him, so he walked me through step by step building a car from ground up. Then we got Tim Monroe. He's owns Tiger Hall, and he's helped me out a whole bunch with different cars. And when I ran my V8 car, him and a guy named Brandon Yon, they helped me out a whole bunch with it. And then Chip Moody with Speed U, he's taught me a lot about marketing and sponsorships and stuff like that. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, you are marketable. That's the good thing about it. You are a very marketable person, and that goes a long way in the world of racing nowadays. Back in the old days, you could just drive a car and people would come look for you. But now they want somebody that's a good spokesperson. If you're going to elevate yourself in this sport, you've got the tools outside the racetrack as well as on the racetrack. So that's a good thing.
Yes, sir.
You got supportive parents. That is extremely important to you. And I was, as I was saying at the table, you may not realize at this point how important that is. You will 10, 15 years down the road, you'll look back and say, wow, my parents compared to everybody else were all in this thing. And that is a great thing for you.
I mean, I couldn't do without either of them. My dad, I made a joke the other day. I said it's the little things that he cares so much about that wins me all the races, because he's just so in depth on little things, and he's been that way ever since I was little. I mean, I was 6 years old sitting in front of a seat in his Monte Carlo bleeding brakes, and up on the lift, and he's just always been that way. And I honestly believe that that's what wins me majority of races, is the little things. And I feel like I hope one day I can pick up that trait more from him. And
well, y'all are either on the road all the time or you're behind the wheel of a race car. You're at a racetrack somewhere. Do you have time for other hobbies or activities?
I've had the last last couple of months, and actually since this year, I've really had to turn all my attention towards racing. It got to the point where I had to start, because the course racing cost is going up and all, so I had to start turning towards making my own money to get to the track. It's kind of just something we thought was that we had to do. So I was either working behind the wheel on the road, so that's kind of where we're at.
Well, you're 15. There's got to be girls or a girl in the picture. What we
There
got
is a
going
girl
on there?
in the picture.
All right.
Yeah, I have a girlfriend back at home. She's amazing, super supportive. She's with me, right by my side, and I can't thank her enough for letting me be going every weekend.
Yeah, that's cool. So now, where are you going this weekend?
This weekend, go home, get car loaded up, and then we're heading up to Travelers Rest. And then from Travelers Rest, we'll come back down to Toccoa, and that'll wrap up our weekend.
Wow. So the car's ready to go. I mean, it's in the box, pretty much.
I still gotta go. I still gotta check over a few more things, make sure we're 100%, and put it in the box, and we should be good.
So with a Sharp Mini late model, I mean, I pretty much know what a modified street does every week to get their cars ready, and a 602 and limited cars. What do you do? Do you nut and bolt the thing every week? Well, obviously, you wash it. What else do you do to your car every week?
So I probably do a little bit extra, a little bit more than a lot of multiple other drivers. Kind of for insurance reasons. I feel like bearings and clean. I alternate weeks. I do front bearings one week and rear bearings the next week. And I just go over everything, inspect everything week in, week out, and just make sure everything's 100% where it needs to be, because I want to be the best I can.
Yeah, and I'm going to share this with you. I'm 70 years old, and I just learned how to pack bearings the right way. I've been packing them wrong all these years. I've been trying to force the grease around the balls or the ball bearing, around the rollers, instead of putting it in the sides. And I watched a YouTube video, and I thought, I can't believe I've been packing bearings wrong. They've lasted, but I can't believe I've been packing bearings wrong all these years.
I spent a lot of time with grease in my hands.
Yeah, well, I spent a lot of time on YouTube learning how to do things right that I never did right before. So you learn something every day, seems like.
Yeah.
So now what will you do between races? Like back from Friday night to Saturday night, what will you do to the car?
So, of course, wash day, tear it down, go wash it, make sure chain and all's clean and stuff like that, and then just get in the garage and just do bearings, either whatever week it is, rear bearings, front bearings, clean them, repack them, put it all back together, and just go over all my rods and my heim joints and make sure they're all free, because these cars are so little, so light. One little bind and you're in the back.
Yeah.
So
them Heims will get you in trouble.
yeah, they
real
will.
quick.
They will.
They ain't.
For sure.
Well, you got one of the greatest names in racing. I've said this on my update shows whenever I've been giving the results. One of the great names in racing. I think it's memorable. I think people are always going to remember you when you come to a racetrack. Like I had Seth Speed on the show last week. Can't get much better than Seth Speed, but Broughton Boatright is very close to that. That's a good name. Yeah. Thanks for coming up, man, and thanks to your parents for bringing you up here. I hope some notoriety from this may land you a ride. Who knows? Let's hope so. But thanks for being here. Good luck this weekend, and y'all have a safe trip back and then back again on the weekend.
I appreciate
All right,
it. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Broughton Boatright, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to hear that name a lot as you go forward, so make sure you keep that in mind. Skylar Wiley is on the way up. And while Skylar's coming up here, let me tell you about we're at Moogie's Mill Creek Gathering Place here on the shores of Lake Hartwell. What a great place to be. Great food. We've enjoyed ourselves so much. Our program's also sponsored by J&C Auto Repair. I got my truck over at J&C right now. I found an oil leak, and they're taking care of it over at J&C Auto Repair on Mize Road here in Toccoa. Gus Simpson Trucking. Gus has a whole fleet of trucks, so he can bring you anything you want and make sure that it's there on time and they're right at Gus Simpson Trucking in Gainesville, but they serve all of Northeast Georgia. Also, the Addison Agency, located in the Town Plaza, in Design Point in Toccoa. They're our insurance agents, and you should be your insurance agents too. They're part of the Auto Owners Insurance Group, and they can take care of all of your needs at the Addison Agency. What I'm very passionate about is America's #1 weight loss solution. I can help you lose the weight, help you get in those race cars. I lost 120 pounds. It was amazing. Took me 9 months to do it. We can help you do that too at America's #1 weight loss solution. Also, also Justice Exterminating. If you want them dead, call Fred. Fred can take care of all those bug problems, rodent problems. He's done it at our house, and he'll do it for you too. Justice Exterminating all over Northeast Georgia. And, of course, our racetrack sponsors, Livonia Speedway with the Dirt Queen. You'll see her racing tomorrow night in the Powder Puff race at Livonia Speedway. Also at Toccoa Raceway on Saturday night. Taking up money for Gordon Welch after he passed away a few weeks ago. They're going to be trying to defer some of his funeral expenses. And, of course, Winder Bear's got the Classic Vintage Racing Series coming up on Saturday night. And remember to put in the comments where you're listening from. We appreciate that very much. And with that being said, Skylar Wiley has joined us. You're going to be, but you know, we've seen you on a go-kart for years and years and years, and you've been very successful at that, but you're going to strap on a full body car come tomorrow night. How you feel about that?
I'm excited, but I know I'll be nervous starting tomorrow.
Nerves is kind of part of it. Do you still get nervous when you go on the racetrack, or are you real comfortable now? Is there ever a race where you got a little butterflies going on?
I mean, I'm pretty comfortable, but, you know, when I go to new tracks, you know, like I think we're going to go to Phoenix City here in a couple of weeks, and like when I go down there, it's a little bit different. I ain't been on it in, you know, 6-7 years, and so I'll get a little bit nervous then. But I think that's just gonna come with it.
Yeah,
you always gonna.
Well, of course, when you're doing something completely different at a racetrack, you've practiced a couple of times, but you've not been out in a race situation there.
No.
This is going to be kind of new for you tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm excited, but I think there's 3 or 4 that.
I've been looking at the lineup of ladies that are going to be out there. There's going to be some competition.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now you got some go-kart experience, and they made it very clear go-kart experience is okay.
Yes,
so there's not a problem with that. But you do have quite a few wins behind on your belt from go-kart experience.
Yes, I think I figured tires and stuff out with go-karting, but I know cars are going to be completely different.
Yeah, whole different deal. You got quite a history. You've got Spur Wiley, all the Wiley family has been involved in racing. As long as I've been at the racetrack, there's been some Wileys racing. So, are you looking forward to carrying that mantra on now, as far as getting in a stockade and running on a regular basis?
Well, it was my Papa Spur, and then it was my Uncle Davey, and then my Uncle Casey, and now my cousin Dawson, and now me. So I'm hoping it just keeps going.
Well, now the car that you're running this weekend, is that Davey? Whose car is that?
That's my Papa Spur's.
Oh, that's Spur's car.
Which is my dad's now. But
right.
It was his.
I got you. Okay. But now the 26 number has always been around. That's been kind of a for sure.
We always try to make something different, like put an O in front of it or a junior. But I think we left. No, there's junior behind it.
Oh, is there? Okay.
Yeah.
So how have your practice sessions been so far?
The first 3 were pretty good, but then we was having something in the turn. It was just trying to die with me. And what's funny, I think it wasn't full of gas.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure.
Wow. So it's not been driver situations. I mean, you've handled that pretty well. It's been mechanical stuff.
No, I don't. We did change some stuff, hoping that it was just gas. But we're not sure. I haven't got to drive it after that.
Oh, so you don't know. You're going in unknown kind of tomorrow night. Okay. How much practice are they going to give you? Just hot laps and then you're going to race or what?
I think they'll do hot laps and then maybe heat race and then main event.
Okay. How many competitors? Do we know yet? I saw something like 10.
Well, there was 6 at practice, but last Saturday there was 10. I thought there was 12 that signed up, but I'm not sure how many should be there.
Okay. Have you felt comfortable behind the wheel?
I think I feel good, but I still got a lot to learn.
When it comes to lap times, do you feel like that you'll be as good as anybody else? Have you clocked everybody else on the track?
There's a few I feel like will be about the same, but I know I'm not as fast as I could be.
I got you.
Yeah.
Ryan, is that something y'all do now? Do you watch the other competitors and see where they're at and kind of see where they're breaking or where they're getting on the gas, or is it everybody kind of, since you run it the same tracks over and over, you pretty much know exactly what to do now?
I think everybody does it a little bit different, but like with me, my race pass or race monitor is my best friend.
Yeah.
We just, most of the time I can come in and say, hey, we not good right through the center of the corner, etc. And I can say, okay, well, we was a tenth off or 2/10 off.
Yeah.
And, we can kind of go from there. I imagine that's maybe what y'all kind of going by.
A little bit.
Is there somebody for you that when they go out on the racetrack, you really want to watch the time and see how it is? I mean, are there people that traditionally are fast every time they go on the track that you really want to see where they're qualifying?
It really just depends on where you're at. I mean, if you go to Livonia, you're going to contend with Michael and Royce. If Jennifer's there, we'll watch her time. Like street stock stuff, we kind of getting into that a little bit, but we hadn't really did any of that this year. But like when they came to Livonia last year, you really wanted to watch people like Rod Tucker, Chad Thrash,
right,
stuff like it. You really knew they was going to come in and, lay good laps down. So you kind of judged it off of,
Yeah, Andy Stewart's always, when he shows up, he's always fast. Yeah. One of those kind of guys, yeah. So who are you looking at? Who I mean, have you eyed the competition and said, I got to beat that car?
There's a few. I'm not good with names.
Well, you're probably good not to mention them anyway.
Yeah, I ain't gonna mention them.
Yeah, after the race you can talk about it, but not now.
There is 3 or 4 that I think we'll be up front and we'll just either take turns or, you never know.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about your go-kart history. When did you start racing karts?
I think this is my 4th year.
Okay. And how many races have you kept up with them? Chastity's probably kept up with them.
Well, I was in Predator my first 2 years.
Yeah.
And I just raced with a bunch of ladies. And I'd say maybe 6 out of 10 I'd win most of them.
Yeah.
But now I'm in clone, so it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
I run with a lot of big names.
Yeah, I was announcing the race Thanksgiving Thunder, and man, we were like 10 o'clock at night, and I asked the scorer, I said, how many more classes we got? And she said, we got 31 more races. And it's already 10 o'clock at night, and I've been there since 9 that morning. It was unreal, man.
I don't think I've ever made it to the end of a Thanksgiving Thunder night.
Lord have mercy, I couldn't believe it. We had 31 more races at 10 o'clock that night.
Yeah, they add at least 4 every race.
That was interesting.
Do you feel like there's anything you took from the kart and it kind of sped up your process of learning in the car?
I honestly see that it's just absolutely different. I don't see anything that's the same, really.
Really? Yeah.
I just feel it's really different.
So many people, so many great drivers have gotten their start in karts, quarter midgets, legends, something like that, kind of a modified go-kart, if you will, with a different kind of body on it. But they got their start in those kind of things. I think just starting at an early age helps.
Yeah,
just getting the feeling for competition and the feeling for going into corner and those kind of things. I just think that helps overall.
See, my dream was to be in a little midget or a sprint car, and then they had them at Tacoma or Livonia, and I got to sit in one. Mm-hmm. I changed my mind real quick.
Oh, really? What was it?
You're so tight.
Yeah,
you're
you
can
tight.
Barely move.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah, no question. And I brought this up on the show last week. Remember when Tony Stewart had his situation where he hit the guy in the sprint car? We had sprint cars at Atlanta Motor Speedway the next weekend, mm-hmm. and for the NASCAR race. And I took a lot of the media down there, and I showed them, when you sit in that sprint car, it's like tunnel vision. You don't see anything going on. There's no way he could have seen that guy, because you just see right there what's in front of you, and that's it. And your vision is so obscured in a sprint car that he wouldn't have had any peripheral vision of that guy coming down on him at all. He wouldn't have seen that.
Right, and when they flip, most of the time there's nothing left.
Oh yeah, and they just continue to flip.
Keep going, yeah.
More than Corey LaJoy did. I mean, it keeps on flipping.
She's way braver than I am, because I just watched them on the track and I didn't want to fool with
Yeah.
They're fast.
Yeah.
They're really fast.
Yeah.
Scary fast.
And you're sitting there with that whole transmission and everything right between your legs. I mean, it's just all that rotating stuff's right there.
The pedals are even different.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
It amazes me to see those things going. So now, when are you going to be in a stock 8 on a regular basis? What are we looking at?
Well, I've been waiting on powder puff so that I can get some practice.
Yeah.
And then next weekend I'll be racing my first mini.
Oh, really?
And then after that, I think we'll be taking turns, kind of stock 8,
Yeah.
mini.
I
I'll be
got
driving
you.
both.
Okay, so whose car are you going to be driving? Mini?
For the mini?
Yeah.
Well, Chris Nation's building me one.
I got you. Okay, so you're going to have your own.
Yeah.
Cool deal. So now let's talk about sponsors. I know you've had folks that have been with you for a long time in various ways. Who you got sponsor-wise?
Well, for the Stockade car, I have International Refrigerated Structures and W&P Cabinet Sales and Phillips Metals and CC's Action Photography. And I want to thank my Uncle Davey and my dad. They do a lot of work and help me. And my friend Selena, she does a lot. There's a lot of people.
And I know Selena's listening because she wanted to know exactly what time you were
Right.
coming on.
I'm sure she is.
Well, you got a great family history behind you. You've got some good sponsors behind you. Can't wait to see how you do tomorrow night. I'm excited that you're going to be the winner of that thing. I'm going to predict it now. We'll see.
So. I want that trophy.
Yeah.
I do.
Well, listen, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for coming over, and I hope you enjoyed yourself tonight.
All right, thank you.
All right, Skylar Wiley, check her out in the 26 Junior, 26 what?
Yeah.
26 Junior, yeah. Tomorrow night, it's blue and yellow. You'll see it at Livonia Speedway tomorrow night for the Dirt Queen Powder Puff race. Ethan Simpson's on his way up, I think. Yeah, Ethan's coming up next. While he's coming up, let me tell you about some of our sponsors. They include, of course, Moogie's Mill Creek Gathering Place here on the shores of Lake Hartwell on Silver Shoals Road. I think there's Silver Shoals Road. Stop by. It's always open on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Man, you'll enjoy yourselves here at Moogie's Mill Creek Gathering Place. Racecraft Performance. Joey Dorsey just builds some great shocks. If you're in the market for shocks for your race car, almost any division, he can handle them for you. You can check him out at Modern Tire while you're in Hartwell. That's where he gathers most of those things and does a lot of building there. Joey Dorsey, a great friend of this program. Bulldog Car Wash in Toccoa. Stop for your $5 car wash. Tell them you want the Champ Show car wash. It's only $5 at Bulldog Car Wash across from McDonald's on Big A Road in Toccoa. Safety Plus in Cornelia. Wendell and Pat Norton can furnish all of your safety and welding needs on Cannon Bridge Road in Cornelia at Safety Plus. Modern Tire, just talking about them, Modern Tire and All Terrain. They're in Hartwell, Georgia, and you can get all brands of tires. They do plenty of front-end work, all kinds of light mechanical work as well, and of course, all-terrain tires at Modern Tire Company. Los Amigos, if you're in a Mexican mood, check them out on Big A Road in Toccoa at Los Amigos. And of course, our racetrack sponsors, Livonia Speedway, the Big Powder Puff Race and Kids Night tomorrow night. Toccoa Raceway taking up money specifically for Gordon Welch's family to help defray his funeral expenses on Saturday night. And of course, Winder Bear Speedway with the Classic Vintage Racing Series on Saturday night as well. Put in the comments where you're viewing from. We'd appreciate that. And we're going to welcome Ethan Simpson to the program. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Charles. How are you?
I'm doing fine, man. And when are we going to have the car back on the track?
We're going to take this weekend off and be back next weekend somewhere.
Okay, where's that going to be?
Toccoa or Livonia, whichever one races.
I got you. So they'll probably, well, I think Labor Day weekend, I think both of them are going to race. I'm not sure. Livonia, I think, is going to be on Saturday. Toccoa is going to be on Sunday. So we should be able to clear that up next week on the program, so you'll know for sure.
Maybe both of them.
Yeah. So maybe get to both of them. So now, clue me in on the number. We've had some number issues on your race cars. What number are we running now?
Number 12.
All right, we're back to 12 again, huh?
Yeah, it's
so we had
came out of nowhere, really.
We had the number 117 for a while. Wasn't it 117?
Yes, sir. It came on the car when we got it. So
okay, so you bought the car with it on there.
Yes, sir.
All right, so now you're back to 12. Now, where'd that number come from?
I was always 5 in baseball, so we just switched it up when we went to racing. There's something different.
So you're always 5, so you decided to go with 12. Now, something doesn't quite compute there to me. I don't understand that math. Yeah.
No, they don't.
I thought you were going to say I was always 5, and there's 7 days in a week, so or something like that.
I don't know where it came from. Just something to switch it up.
All right, so it's 12.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just say you're a Ryan Blaney fan. Come up with something.
Right, something.
All right, so take us through how it's been so far racing.
Well, 2 years ago we started and went straight to a 602. Drove nothing before that. So
yeah, that's a pretty amazing jump to go straight to a 602.
It's a big jump, and still learning until this day. It's been a big jump so far, and still learning each race, every lap.
Well, there's a lot of guys in 602. You're racing against some people that have been racing for 20 years or whatever in 602 racing. That is a huge jump. So what's been the most, I'm not going to ask you for the best finish, but what's been the most memorable race for you so far? Could be good or bad. What's the most memorable?
All of them really has been fun so far. So
I didn't ask about fun. I said memorable. There's a difference.
the first race running, we were regular 602.
Yeah?
Everybody cut Chargers out around here, so just got to run with them. So
Yeah.
it's been a big jumping up there for sure.
Now, when was that? Where was that? Tacoma or Livonia?
Livonia.
Livonia, okay.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Is there anybody you rely on as far as like a mentor, or somebody that kind of leads you in the right way, setup wise, and etc.?
Well, Chase Watkins has always been a fellow to look up to,
Yeah.
So I look up him and his daddy's a good help, like a good people to look up to for whatever,
How'd you get hooked up with them? Because they're way down in Nicholson. How did y'all become buddies?
Just hanging out at the track the first few times, like when I first started going and they was racing, like when he first started cars, we just started talking there, and it's just kind of carried on until this day. So.
Yeah. I know you hung out with Bubba Russell a lot. I'd always see you at Bubba's trailer and messing around with him. How'd you get hooked up with Bubba?
Just walking up to him one day, asking for a beanie, and it's kind of carried on into this day too.
Yeah. Kids always ask me. They say, "How do you get on a race team?" And I tell them, "Just show up."
Right.
I was. That's the way I was. I was at the racetrack. I was just standing there beside and somebody, hey kid, roll that tire over here. Next thing you know, I'm on a crew. It just happens. Yeah, that's kind of cool how that happens like that. So now, who have you got that help you on the racetrack or at shop?
Michael, Daddy, Mama, and like I said, Chase and his daddy. They helped at Tacoma last week. Well, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
They helped out a little bit. Mama, Daddy, Michael, just all of them. It helps. Ain't really got no sponsors. So.
Where's your shop located?
At the house.
Okay, it's here in Tacoma.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what you racing this weekend?
No, sir. We're going to take this weekend
Taking
off.
this weekend off. I
Yeah.
think you told me that already. You're taking this weekend off.
Yes, sir.
But you're going to be able to try to get out maybe both races Labor Day weekend.
Hopefully.
Okay.
If we make it through the first night.
So now, how did you do your first night out?
It was just kind of rode around in the back and kind of got the feel of the car, and it's just,
That's what you have to do.
Yeah. Just kind of get the feel of the car and what it's going to do in the corners and what does what and what you got to do to make it do what.
Did you do any practicing before that first race, or was that your first time on the track?
First time ever on the track.
Really?
Anything.
Wow.
Anything.
And how old were you when you did that?
14.
14. You're what now?
16.
You're 16. Okay. So how's school going?
It's been good so far.
Good. So
good.
you're able to jockey that with getting the car ready?
Yes, sir.
Do you do a lot of work on the car yourself?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You get the wash chores, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's always a favorite part, ain't it?
Yeah.
And you hope that it's a dry track that weekend, right?
Yes.
Not
No
a really
mud.
sloppy track.
No mud.
You don't want to take home 50 pounds of clay.
Taylor, he switched it up on us right
Yes,
there about
yes.
mid-July, and he's got a pretty good bit of moisture in that track. And
Yeah.
I told Dad, I said, this ain't traditional Livonia right here.
Yeah.
We come home with some clay,
Yeah, usually Livonia, by the time hot laps are over, it's already dusty.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to see moisture on the track past that point. So that's a good thing. So which you like better, Tacoma or Livonia?
Well, 2 weeks ago was our second time there. We struggled the first time. But last weekend 2 weeks ago was really fun at Tacoma. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. I like Tacoma better than Livonia.
So what's it like being out there with 18 or 20? I mean, you're having to run a B main now. They got so many cars that show up in 602 at Tacoma.
Yeah, we qualified 11th or 12th at Tacoma that weekend and started beside Seth Speed. And we kind of raced into 1 and 2, and he got the advantage, and I kind of just tucked in and followed him and was catching him and just...
Ran out of laps?
Yeah, ran out of laps.
Yeah. Well, it's always good whenever you feel like you got a competitive car.
Yeah, it was fun that night. Tacoma was fun.
Yeah. So the car in good shape?
Yes, sir.
Ready to roll then?
Yes, sir.
All right. folks, we'll see you at hopefully Livonia and at Toccoa next weekend. What's your future goal? I mean, you looking at any point moving up, or you just going to try to get more proficient in 602 before you even think about something like that?
I want to get better in 602 than before I move up, but hopefully, as the years come, just keep getting better and better and see what happens.
Well, we hope you do.
Hopefully.
Good luck with that, man.
Thanks,
Ethan, it's always good to talk to you. I'll be at the grocery store, and Ethan will walk up to me and start talking racing, man. He's done that for years. How many years? Probably 4 or 5 years ago, you started seeing me in the grocery store, and we had just talked racing the whole time during the dairy section.
It took longer to talk than grocery shopping.
Yeah, that's right. Ethan, we appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Ethan Simpson.
Thanks,
Anybody
Charles.
you want to thank or anything else? You mentioned several guys. Anybody else?
Mom, Michael, and Eddie, and everybody that helps out every weekend. Get us to the track and back.
And Keith and Chase.
Keith and Chase.
Yeah.
They're a huge look up.
Good deal. All right. Well, listen, we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Charles.
All right. Clay Thompson's on the way up. We're going to talk with Clay. He's kind of gotten back into racing once again. Our program is brought to you by Moogie's Mill Creek Gathering Place. By the way, I mentioned the results. It's brought to you by Mid-South Cage Equipment. Everybody got rained out last weekend, so the only results we got is NASCAR, and that's the one where Tyler Reddick won that race in Michigan. So big win for Tyler, and again, thanks to him for mentioning Scott Bloomquist in that race and thanking Scott for all that he had done for Tyler Reddick in his deal. And so also it's brought to you by Jackie Jones Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Cleveland, Georgia. Simpson mulch, they're right next door to Simpson Trucking and Grading. It's about time of the year to start getting those plants mulched in over the winter, so Simpson Mulch can get you plenty of mulch. Aquabot of Georgia, Shane and Debbie Chastain, they can take care of cleaning your pool. We no longer clean our pool. It is all done by Aquabot and that amazing tool that we've got in the pool. It keeps it clean all the time. Get one. It is outstanding. That's Aquabot of Georgia, located at Chastain Janitorial Supply in Gainesville, Georgia. Napa Auto Parts, they got locations all over northeast Georgia and western South Carolina. Stop in and get some of that Napa know-how at Napa Auto Parts, and want to send our best wishes out to James, the manager at Napa Auto Parts in Toccoa, having a few health problems, and so we hope James is doing well today. Stopped in to check on him today. Our racing partners are Toccoa Raceway, big racing coming up Saturday night, making up money for the Gordon Welch family after he passed away at the track a couple of weeks ago. Also, Livonia Speedway tomorrow night. It's the Dirt Queen Powder Puff race, and also Kids Night and the Classic Vintage Racing Series. Going to be at Winder Speedway on Saturday night. So I hope you will visit those racetracks and enjoy some great racing. And of course, wherever you're listening from, put that in the comments. We always like to know where our viewers and listeners are coming from. Clay Thompson is back with us, and you're back in a race car. How cool is that?
Yeah, out of retirement, I guess. Thank you for having me, Charles.
When did that occur? I mean, all of a sudden we didn't see your name, and then last weekend, bam, you're back at it.
Well, we run a little bit in April. We've just been really busy at our car lot and junkyard and everything. When I graduated high school, I kind of told my dad, I was like, I want to take a little time off and grow the business and focus a little bit on that. So I graduated, and I kind of took over the car lot side, revamped that, and did all that, went through it. And then we run a little bit in April because we kind of got everything where I'm pretty happy with it, kind of where I wanted to be. And so we run a handful of races in April, and we just had something kind of crazy happen just about every race. And we decided we was going to start financing our stuff. If anybody's looking for a good used car, it's thompsonsusedcars.com. But Thompson's Auto and Truck in Bowersville, Georgia. And I said we would just take a little time off and start our financing stuff. We got that back going, and now it's time to get back in a race car, Charles.
Were you still doing vinyl lettering and that kind of stuff, or are you out of that now?
I did that through high school just to kind of make extra money on the side. I just had fun with it, really, and I enjoyed doing it. And I still do my own race cars, and I don't do anything for the public. I couldn't deal with the public. It's enough trying to sell them cars, much less dealing with, can you change this color here and there?
Yeah.
So, no.
Hats off to Kenny Collins for doing that.
Yeah, that's right. He does a good job with all his stuff. Kenny was a big help for me for a lot of years, and I always looked up to Kenny as far as his lettering stuff goes. Him and David Pritchett was probably the best, too. And one of my buddies actually does a lot of stuff with me now, Shane Marzoff at Marzoff Inc. And
Shane's one of my weight loss clients. You know that?
Really?
Yep,
yeah, I've known Shane since I was about 14, 15, and he worked at Kyle Busch and all those guys, and I actually met him when I run asphalt. And Me and him have always been good friends. He's been a big mentor to me and taught me about color contrast and stuff like that. So he's one of the big reasons my race cars pop like they do.
He'll send me every 2 or 3 days. I'll get some picture that he's done.
Something random,
He's sending me.
That's right.
Like, or some big trailer that he's done that you don't expect the color combinations.
Yeah,
of.
no,
He's
always been a good help to me, and I've always liked talking to Shane on the phone. I usually talk to him about once a week, and try to keep up with a handful of people every week just to stay in the loop.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So now, when are we going to get Wesley in a classic vintage racing car? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. We had some go-karts I bought about 3 months ago. We was running up at one of my buddy's houses, and he kept saying, you don't want this old man to whip you. He's like, I'll show you what, you ain't nothing, boy. And so I said, all right, I'll buy you a go-kart. So I bought him a go-kart, and I kid you not, we got it done, took it up there, and he's actually going to drive mine that night because the clutch didn't come in for it. So I was going to let him drive mine. And I looked at him and said, all right, it's your time to shine, baby. Get on that thing. And he looked at me, and he looked at the ground, and he looked at me and said, son, I can't do that. What if I get hurt? I didn't hear nothing else out of that. I said, I don't want to hear another word. I said, you retired, Pawpaw. You done. You done.
I remember Wesley when I was younger, though. He was tough to beat.
Yes, sir.
And
no doubt about it.
Yeah, I figured you'd ask me where I got my race car number. I was about to say, didn't nobody ever forget that 99? There wasn't no fenders left on every picture I look at. When I was little, I'd say, Dad, why ain't you got no fenders?
I didn't have any question where the 99 came from.
I figured out why he didn't have any fenders about 5 years later. When I got old enough to hear the stories when they was uncensored. That's why he didn't have no fenders.
Yeah, that's it. Open wheel modified, right?
Yeah, he started it in 95.
He started a couple years early.
Yeah.
He was just practicing the arrow. He's figuring out how that arrow worked on them front wheels on that nose.
Oh, God. Man, some great times back in those days. Boy, a lot of great races during that time.
Yeah, that's right. I always said I was born 20 years too late because I'd have liked to have seen it back then. I've always been a big fan of history and stuff like that. I've always liked to watch those older races. And I like talking to guys like David Smith's one of my big mentors, and Parker Heron, Russell Fleeman, and just a lot of those guys. And I love hearing their old stories. Bobby Kay at Car House, Racing Radiators, he helps me a lot. And I love going over there and talking to Bobby and trying to talk to him as much as I can.
I had Bobby on show one night, this 30 years ago. Had Bobby on the show.
Short story long.
Yeah, exactly. But I had Bobby on the show, and I talked to him at the racetrack at Anderson the next night. I said, why did it take you so long to answer the question? He said, I was trying hard not to cuss. He said, that's why I had to measure each word so I wouldn't cuss in between.
That's why he probably said right and pushed the glasses up with the middle finger right.
Yeah,
Bobby.
There's a wealth of knowledge.
Him and Michael helped me a lot when I first started crate racing. I was racing asphalt legend cars, and we was getting ready to move up, and I guess it was probably 2018, I think, 2017, 2018. This was the first time I ever met him. We walked over there, and my dad said, now you fix to see something, son, you ain't never seen. And we walked in that shop, and I met Bobby. And as I got older, he kind of turned into more of the real Bobby.
Yeah.
But he was pretty censored that first time I met him, too. So.
I had never seen a surface plate till I went to Car House. That's the first time I'd ever seen a surface plate and then build a race car on a surface plate. I'd been to John Harrison's shop where they did it on a concrete floor and just used a level and, plumb bobs and that kind of thing. But I'd never seen a surface plate till I went into Car House.
Yeah, the first time I ever saw one was probably Russell Fleeman's shop. Russell's helped me since I was 7 or 8 years old. And he's always been a good hand to me. And that's probably been the biggest mentor other than my dad, which, you don't want to listen to Daddy anyways. Daddy's right 95% of the time. The other 5% is when he lets me do it my way,
I know.
But, no.
Well, Russell used to race at Winder. And then, he got in the asphalt world. And he raced with us at Lanier at Peach State and Cordele. Just a great asphalt racer. And Larry, his daddy, was just a super, super guy.
Yeah, Russell's gave me advice on personal levels. And well, it's funny because we actually got the same birthday.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, it's April 23rd. But Russell's gave me advice on personal levels, racing levels. And, it's funny because I try to talk to people once a week that I really, stay in touch with. And I was actually talking to him about 2 weeks ago when we got our finance and stuff, everything done. And just kind of rolling through that, and he was giving me stuff, he's like, Larry used to do it this way, he said, hey, maybe you should try this and see if it helps you, and, just stuff like that, and it's pretty neat, and I've always just Russell's been really good to me, and I've always looked at him like a second dad. I've always told him, Russell, I think of you like more of a second dad than, a hero, so. Yeah,
Larry was a great businessman, and as a matter of fact, U.S. Auto Sales used to sponsor this show. We've had a lot of dealings with them over the years, and Amber actually we were doing a telecast at Lanier and Amber sat in, and she was one of our co-commentators during that. I told Amber, I said, "You're missing your calling. You need to be behind a microphone somewhere."
Yeah, that's right. I like Amber. I've known her since, like I said, 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
I think she would have been a good announcer if you could get her to talk. You had to get her to talk first.
But she's a wealth of knowledge, though.
Yeah,
Man,
she's
it's amazing.
smart,
And she's
super
able
smart.
to convey it really well too.
Yeah.
So now, what's the plan? Are you going to go racing, or are you going to go selling cars, or are you going to do both, or what you going to be doing?
I want to go back racing. Like I said, I got everything kind of where I want it to be, and we've run out, like I said, a handful of races this year, and I just, they ain't nothing like racing. I mean, people say whatever they want. You can buy you a boat, you can buy you a big house, you can buy a Lamborghini. There ain't nothing like sitting in that race car. And so, like I said, just really want to get a new car next year and try to work towards that. And I'm not real set in stone on anything on what I'm going to do yet, but I want to try to get a new car and go run a lot of the big crate races and try to get back into doing that. And, sell.
Now, when you say crate, are you talking about 602? Are you talking about 604? What are you looking at?
I'd like to get a 602 and get back kind of rolling with it, and then try to get a 604 motor and stuff like that, and just go, run the big crate races. But just generally any crate race, really.
Talking about that, I'm going to call Mitchell Godfrey out. Mitchell, he's sold out a half a dozen times. He'll sell out, and he'll be talking about on Saturday night. Ain't nothing like being on the lake on the Saturday night and not back at the racetrack. And then about 3 or 4 weeks later, you see him pull back in the racetrack with another car. I mean, when it's in your blood, it's just there. And
that's right.
I've seen so many that do that, and they say, "Oh, it's nice not having to be at the racetrack." They can't stand it long.
It's fun not having to watch it on Sunday. That's about it.
I think I sell out every other weekend in my mind. Let me have a bad night, and Saturday night I'm selling completely out, and then Sunday morning I'm back.
I don't have that problem with race cars. I got that problem with trucks. I bought a new one today, and he looked at me and just shook his head. I get a new one like every 3 weeks, 3 months. I'm like, oh, I got this one. This is the one I wanted since I was little.
Yeah.
I get it, and then I'd sell it in 2 weeks. But
I know, David Murphy.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, Murphy.
Yep.
I noticed he had a '76 Chevy pickup, and it had 74,000 miles on it, and he had that thing listed yesterday for $22,000.
Yeah,
I mean, they bring some money, man.
Yeah, they do. That'll fund your racing career real good.
Yeah.
I mean, those things are nice trucks. You could buy those things if you could get your money on them right. Make a lick on them old ones.
Yeah, those square bodies.
It's a lot easier to sell. It's harder to sell those in a way, and it's also easier to sell those in a way because if somebody wants a classic one, they usually they'll buy it. But they're kind of a lot more picky when it comes to those classic ones because I've had a handful of older square bodies and stuff like that, and buy them, just sell them. And people will come up and they'll either be really, really excited about it or they'll be nitpicking it, But, that happens with a $2,000 car, too.
Well, sure, yeah.
Yeah, hey, the window don't work,
Right.
The window button's bad.
Yeah.
I've heard it all.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, but,
so what do y'all sell the most of?
Just cars and trucks. I mean, we sell anything with 4 wheels on it, But we sell.
And you're located where?
In Bowersville, Georgia.
Where at in Bowersville?
The original car on the pole. We're 3448 Bowersville Highway.
Okay, so that's highway runs between Livonia, Bowersville.
If you're coming off Highway 17, you're going from Livonia to Royston,
right,
and you turn left, like you're going back to Hartwell.
Go by Buffington Countertops.
Ryan, my brother Ryan right here gets to see it every morning, don't you?
Yeah, on the way to work.
So you're down there where Moshe Manufacturing used to be.
Kind of, about 2 miles, I'd say, probably 2 or 3 miles.
We bought them out. We bought out their sewing plant, and that became Champ Sportswear.
That's right. That's where we were probably about a mile. Is that where they play cornhole at? I ain't never been.
I don't know. It's somewhere near Nathan Bowen, somewhere near there.
They do something with that building.
Isn't Nathan Bowen somewhere near there?
Yeah. We live a mile from Petey and Nathan, right there at the train place. And Joey, you talk about Joey Dorsey. Joey Dorsey's actually over the train stuff.
Right, I know it.
That's how the Great Walton Railroad ended up on my car all those years.
Oh, really?
On the quarter panel was because Joey, and I can't remember the older guy's name. I think he passed away.
The guy that died. Joey called me the night he died, and he said, "I got to take over the whole railroad now."
I can't remember his name, but he's the one that was over the train stuff.
Right.
And Joey was running it for him, and they ended up wanting to put it on the car because he found out Joey put Modern Tire on the side on the door. Joey's been on the door since I started running crate stuff, and he said, "Well, heck, give me the quarter panel." So the old man wanted the quarter panel, so we killed 2 spots right there. And
how about that?
Yeah, but we haven't got a lot of sponsors back on board for next year.
Does he build your shocks?
No, But we haven't got all our sponsors and stuff lined up back next year. But we got I just want to thank them while we're on the topic. But we've got Thompson Auto and Truck. I'm probably gonna miss somebody a little bit rusty here. It's been two or three. It's been 5 years since I've been on your show, but I know it's been 2 or 3 years since I've won a race. So
well, your face is a lot longer than it used to be. You used to have a little round face.
That's
and
right.
You've either lost some weight or something. What's going on?
Yeah. Well, I run a lot, work out a lot, and just I have lost a good bit of weight.
Yeah.
But but I try to work out just about 5 days a week. But I was going to say I want to thank Thompson's Auto and Truck, Modern Tire and All Terrain, and Clem's Alternators and Starters, and Warrior Race Cars, Car House Racing Radiators, and I think Carter's Royal Disposal is the last one on the car that's still on there. Because that wrap is actually, we bought that car right before I graduated and took some time off and had it lettered. And so, but I know that those guys were on there the one time we run last year. We just practiced it and everything, shook it back down. So I know all those guys probably would want to come back on for next year.
You mentioned David Smith earlier, and David called me this week, and he wanted me to make sure I told everybody about the Anderson Motor Speedway Hall of Fame. They're doing that on August 30th, which will be a week from tomorrow night. And Charlie Barrett is going to be inducted into it. Mike Love, I think maybe Bud Lunsford is in it also, but a lot of our local guys from this area that we saw race are going to be inducted into the Anderson Motor Speedway Hall of Fame, and David is kind of working, along with Scott Childress, working on that. So I know David's granddad, Charlie Mize, is going to be inducted in it, and David said, please push that on your show. So I was happy to do that for him.
What about Anderson going to bringing the dirt cars in? You excited about that? Or you gonna go watch
I think that'll be a pretty cool deal, and I'll tell you who I think's going to win it. I think Harold Hawley will be the one to do it, if anybody does it, because, he's an old NASCAR crew chief.
Right.
And I think Joey Coulter is going to be the one driving the car, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really?
Is he? I mean, I don't know if he is or not.
I didn't know Harold was bringing the car down.
That's who practiced.
That's why I was thinking, because they had all the telemetry stuff on the car. If I watched the video, I think they had the telemetry stuff on the car. And I think that'll be the one who does it, because like Harold was a NASCAR crew chief.
Yeah, sure.
And Joey Coulter run for Richard Childress in like 2011, 2012, I think.
Joey Coulter, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think, they've got a good backing behind them. They'll be the ones that's the ones I think will do it.
Well, we had Southern All-Stars dirt cars come to Lanier one night, and that was one of the greatest shows. Mickey Gibbs out of Alabama was faster than a sprint car. I have never seen cars go so fast on that racetrack. Ronnie Johnson, Clint Smith, I mean, just the who's who of dirt racing was there at that race that night.
Was they a buffer of? Could you tell they was, having to get it figured out, or did they hit the ground?
No, they hit the ground running.
And this was when it was asphalt.
Oh yeah,
really. But
used
to you could get away with that. You could run asphalt and dirt cars.
But this was not. This was actually Southern All Stars dirt cars.
Oh, okay.
They brought them on a Thursday night. It was a special show on a Thursday night. Just those cars and a few support divisions. And I mean, it was unreal, the speeds and the things that they did over there.
Now, you said Bloomquist runs second in that race. You said Jeffco, right? I think that's what they called it back then.
No, it was Georgia International.
Georgia International, okay. Who won that race? Do you
Jody
remember?
Ridley.
Jody Ridley. Okay, that's a good name. I was wondering who would outrun him.
Yeah, Jody won that race. And a matter of fact, I was mentioning that on Facebook or on the show last week, and somebody sent me a ticket of that race in 1994 that Bloomquist had signed. And they had that autograph from that only race that he ever ran in NASCAR.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Bloomer was one of a kind. We was actually in South Georgia when I ran asphalt stuff, run Bandoleros from, I think, 2013 to 2016, something like that. Yeah. And we was at a show with Ken Reagan, which is David's dad. And we were down there staying at their house, and we was real good friends with Ken and David and Beverly and all of them. And so we was at that show with our car on display for the Legend car deal. And they had run somebody else for the Legend car, but I was the Bando show car. And so Bloomquist was like 2 booths over signing autographs. And, I'm a 12-year-old kid. Obviously, I'm going to leave and go get an autograph. Well, I got down there and just got to talking with him. And we were sitting there, and he said something. And I said, will you sign my car? And he walked over there, and I thought it was the funniest thing. We had to cover and this was before I had a Warrior or anything like that. We had to cover the back of the car because it had a Warrior logo on the back of it. And of all the people for him to sign the race car, it looked like Davenport's car.
Oh, really?
And, they weren't really, I don't know if they were friends or not, but, they were the two that went at it for a long time.
Sure.
They were the two guys to beat. Yeah. And me and my dad always laughed about that. But that year, I think there was some magic in that autograph because we won 36 out of, I think, 40 races and never had a DNF. We run second twice and third twice, and that was really like the whole 40 races. I think we run 40 or 42 races, and we never broke one time.
Wow!
And I thought that was pretty cool.
You actually hold the record.
That's right. Yeah, I hold the record for most consecutive wins in a season. I actually broke. Joey Logano set the record in 2000 something. I want to say like 2002, 2000 or something like that. 99, 2000. Most consecutive wins in a season. And I think he won like 15 straight. I won 16. And then in the Thursday Thunder deal, he won 8 and I won 9. I'd actually won 10, but I got knocked out with 2 to go leading the race. And I drove, we might have been 5 to go. And I drove back to second, and I'd have won the race, but they cut the race short. That was what it is. They cut the race short with 2 to go. So I drove back from last and ended up second in that race. So we won every race that season but one.
Well, I was announcing from 99 to 2005 Thursday Thunder at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So I was announcing when you were down there. And Logano, when he first showed up, I remember had to go down and ask him how to pronounce his name because I didn't know. He's just a 10-year-old kid.
Connecticut,
Yeah, and I didn't know if it was Logano or what. And his dad was there, and he told me it was Logano. So we got to know him very early. You mentioned Ken Reagan. Did you ever read that article in the Hall of Fame magazine on Ken Reagan?
I don't think I did. I probably read a bunch of stuff.
Well, I wrote that article.
Oh, you did, really?
Yep. And it took me the article. You could read the article in 45 minutes probably. And it took Ken 5 hours to explain it to me. You know how Ken Reagan is.
Yeah. My dad and Ken still talk a lot. They'll call each other.
Ken calls me every once in a while. I want you to come out of retirement, come announce this race for us.
He's been wanting to retire out there for God knows how long. I guess 10 years now. He'd tell us because he took it over. I think 15 from Dwight Pilgrim ran it from 14. And I think he took it over in the middle of 14, 15.
No, he didn't want to do it. Ed Clark just begged him to come back.
Ed and I think Brandon and Lee was his last. There was 3 guys, and they all begged him to do it. He said, I'm going to retire at the end of this year. And he'd say that every year, and you could hear it. Every race you went to, you was going to hear it. It didn't matter if you wanted to or not. You were going to hear it. And we were at Cordell one night, and my dad was in there, and they had went and got some tomatoes or something. And he said, make me one of them tomato sandwiches, Wesley. He just walked up in the motorhome and got it. But Ken was a sight. I always enjoyed talking to Ken, and he still calls my dad a bunch. But yeah, he's been wanting to retire for I don't know how long. I said right at 10 years, but they won't let him because he's built that place so big, and it's crazy. We've been wanting to go back.
And he loves it. He loves Legends Racing. I was announcing at Atlanta Motorsports Park, and I saw somebody tap me on the back of the shoulder, and I turned around, and it was Ken, and he was up there with Dan Elliott, and he wanted to bring Dan up in the tower and us chat a while up there. But Ken he's a great guy. Loves racing, man. Great friend of Robert Yates. If you know about the story about him and the Robert Yates family, it just goes way back. When his brother Marvin died, Robert chartered a plane and brought a whole bunch of folks down to the funeral. They're really tight-knit family with the Robert Yates folks.
Yeah, Marvin was the one who ran Cordell, right? That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, Marvin ran Cordell.
Yeah. Man, you got quite a history. And you're only how old?
20.
20, and look at all
that
I've
been racing since I was 4. I started racing when I was 4 years old. And go-karts, we ran... I can't remember all the series, but we ran WKA, we run Tri-State with Troy Duncan, we run at GKK for the Thunder deal. I mean, we run, anywhere. I've been from Florida to Pennsylvania, Indiana to Louisiana. I think, and I'm not saying this being arrogant or anything. I think we've won in every state.
Wow.
Every state because we run. Cool. Like I said, we ran the bandos, we run the legend cars, we run the go-karts, and the dirt car stuff, the crate car stuff.
So you're going to put the 99 back in Victory Lane this year, 40 years over?
I hope so. Somebody asked me earlier, it was Milford back there, he said, you don't look too rusty. I said, I think we finally got the Himes free.
Yeah. You think?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really tough. I've run a lot of stuff, and I think that the most competition, really, truly, you've got your South Georgia cars, and then you've got your Northeast Georgia cars, and you got your Tennessee crowd, and everywhere you go, you got your own people. But I would say I would really put money on it that the people in Northeast Georgia and the crate racing stuff has got to be the most competitive group of people I've ever raced with in my life. I mean, they don't miss. I mean, if you've got one guy that misses it, there's 10 other ones that's right there on it.
Absolutely.
And it's all, especially with the crate stuff, it's just so tight knit and it's so hard. You got to be absolutely perfect. You're one bar notch off, you're 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths off.
So tight.
Yeah.
And you see that whenever they go to Charlotte, places, Phoenix City, places like that. Our guys always seem to go to the top.
Yeah.
They're familiar with what's going on.
You're either going to be real good or real bad.
Yeah.
There's no in between when you go.
You're going to be good or break.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just pull in. Something broke with me.
That's right, yeah. At least say that anyway.
Yeah.
That's like a football player. If he misses a pass that he should have caught, all of a sudden he grabs his leg, anything to make it look better.
Yeah, I remember when we was point racing at Hartwell 2020 when I won the point steal over there, and we was racing against Ron. If I went down the backstretch and I choked it up, I'd spin it around and start over again.
Yep.
But that's how sometimes you got to do what you got to do,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Clay, we appreciate you being here. Thanks for coming up. Thanks for bringing your daddy.
Yeah.
Always good.
Yeah, he said he wasn't going without me. So.
Yeah, well, good deal. Well, thanks so much. Good luck with the car lot, man. That's going great for you.
Thank you. We've been doing pretty good with it. And it did a lot better than I really intended it to. I started it when I was 18. And, I mean, obviously, I didn't start. I run it, is the best way to put it. We still use all his dealer's license and everything. And we run it together. And it's been really fun working with my dad, when I was 18, I was either going to do that or go find a job with a race team somewhere and try to go on the road with somebody.
Yeah.
And I said, I'd just rather stay at home and work with him and see what we could come up with. And we've done really good with it. And it's been, like I said, really a blessing. And there's nothing like working with your dad. Literally nothing like working with your dad.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, enjoy the time while you can.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Enjoy it.
While he's not getting on to me,
Yeah.
right?
Like with me and my dad racing, we kind of butt heads every now and then, but we work together and we work fine together. Like,
Yeah.
We never have nothing like it.
Yeah, I really don't have to ask him much anymore what I think, as far as, hey, what do you think we need to do? How to handle the approach to driving the racetrack anymore, It's like, but we went up there and practiced the other night. We changed just about everything on the car. And, just trying to get it back right because so much has changed in the 2 years that I didn't race. And I asked him, I said, hey, what do you think we need to do about this approach going to the racetrack? Because when you practice a car on dirt stuff, when you race on asphalt, most of the time your track's kind of close. You get a ballpark figure, but when you go up there and you practice in the daytime, it's a crumb fest. It's nothing like what you would race on 9 times out of 10. And I said, how do you want to approach this? And he said, just let it blow off and let it come to you. So we try to do it that way. But that's really the only time I've had to ask him much anything anymore. He raced late models too a little bit, so he knows and.
Well, it's good to have that information to draw on.
Yeah.
And at least either do it like I asked Chase Elliott or asked Bill one time. I said, "Does Chase ever do what you say?" And he said, "Nope." He said, "The only way I can get Chase to do what I say," he says, "Dad, you're over the hill. You don't know. Everything's changed since you were out there." But he said, "I can go to him and say, listen, I just heard Harvick and them are doing such and such." And he said, then he'll jump right on it whether they said that or not.
I know exactly. Yeah, I know exactly how he feels there, but. See, my dad, when he raced, he tells me a lot of times he'd say, well, you need to do this and this. And I say, buddy, you stuck in the 80s.
Yeah.
You got to slow down. You driving something completely different. Last time he ran a late model was about 2006. He had a Newberry right, and James Foster actually helped him. And I don't remember who they bought the car. I think they bought it from Hugh Sharp or somebody. So. Yeah. But, I tell them, I'm like, man, you stuck in the 80s. Just go back over and sit on the trailer with your straw hat on.
Don't you love it when they say that?
But there's a lot of times that they give us information.
And there's a lot of times that he's right, and he wants to just hit me in the head because I see it, I'm like, everybody said that's red right there. Everybody used to call him red when he raced, and it was flash or red. And I see flashes of red. I just see both of them at one time, But I see that red coming out of him, and I'm we better turn the other way and go start doing something else. I said, I'm going to the bathroom. Y'all just do what you need to do, and I'll be back. But him and Vernon or Josh and all my buddies in Austin, they'll figure out what they want to do to it, and sometimes I'll kind of have a say-so in it, but I just come back, I get in. A lot of times ignorance is bliss when you're driving a race car. You just want to hope it goes in there and turns, and you say, I don't want to know what y'all did, sometimes, but a lot of times I'm the one that makes the calls now.
Well, we appreciate y'all making the trip up. Thank you so much for being here. It's good to catch up with you and find out what's going on. Man, it's been a while. I didn't know it had been 5 years since you've been on the show.
First time I was on your show, or last time I was on your show, but it was 2019. We was up at the X Factor. I think it was right when I first started. We practiced a couple times at Tacoma, run a handful of races at Livonia, I think. And back when we started, we didn't have a Charger class. We went right up to it. Then they started it, and everybody kind of dropped back down. I run like 3 or 4 races in it, and then moved back up. It was more fun to race with guys like Jimmy Ivester and Bad Boy McCoy and Kenny and guys like that really know how to race and it's a lot more fun to race with those guys. You learn a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. And nothing hurts with running with the best. It's like playing golf. You want to play golf with somebody a little better than you are always.
That's right. Yeah, me and Royce raced a bunch at Hartwell together, and Brandon Stroud. We all raced, and we raced it was, everybody's right there together, and it's always a blast racing with those guys.
Yeah, so. No question. Hang on right here just a minute. We're going to close this out and tell you a little bit about our upcoming events. Of course, NASCAR goes to Daytona. That's a Saturday night deal for NASCAR. Tomorrow night, Livonia Speedway is going to be racing. It is going to be the Powder Puff, Dirt Queen Powder Puff, as well as Kids Night. And then on Saturday night, Tacoma Raceway is going to be racing. I'll be taking up money for Gordon Welch and his family after Gordon passed away a couple of weeks ago. And, of course, Winder Bear Speedway's got the Classic Vintage Racing Series. We'll be back here next week at Mill Creek Gathering Place. Want to thank Ryan Boles for being our co-host tonight. You've done a good job. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, and we appreciate all of our guests for being here. And thank you so much for viewing, and we'll see you again next week. Bye, everybody.